Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to install macOS Ventura Hackintosh. Now I'll be using a Windows machine to set up everything, so either you're using a Windows 10 or Windows 11 computer, you should be fine. Now I'm going to guide you through each and every step from downloading the required files to the installation, so make sure you don't skip any part of this video. Now these are the requirements. First, we need balenaEtcher, which we're going to use to create a bootable disk. Second, we need MiniTool partition wizard. Third, we need Gen SMBIOS, which we are going to use to generate a unique serial for our Mac Hackintosh. Fourthly, we need proper tree. We also need Explorer++. We need macOS Ventura Image File. We need Opencore EFI configuration file. We need ESP Mounter Pro, which we are going to use after the installation. And lastly, we need a flash drive of at least 16 GB, which we are going to use for the installation. But if you have anything more than that, you should be fine. The links to each and every one of these files will also be provided in the video description. Now the first thing we should do before downloading the files is checking the hardware we are using. So we have to check our CPU code name and the generation. So open Task Manager to check our CPU code name. Now click on Performance under Task Manager, and here you can see the CPU details. Now you can see I'm using Intel Core i5 4570. This means this is a 4th generation CPU starting with 4, and this is a Core i5 CPU. 4th generation CPUs are called Haswell, so the code name for my CPU is Haswell. So when we are downloading the Opencore EFI configuration file, we are going to be downloading EFI configuration file for Haswell, which is what we are using. Now we can close this and then head to our browser. First, we are going to download balenaEtcher. Now the link to each and every one of these files we are using will be provided in the video description, so you can download yourself. So let's head to download balenaEtcher, download Etcher, and then we're going to select Etcher for Windows portable version. Click on download and it should start downloading. Next thing we have to download is MiniTool partition wizard. The first link over here, and then click on download now. Next thing we have to download is Gen SMBIOS, and you can see the link to GitHub, so let's click on it. Now click on code and then click on download zip. Downloading. Next thing we have to download is proper tree, so let's search for proper tree and then click on it, and then click on code again and then download zip. Next thing we have to download Explorer++, search for it, click on it, download 64 bits. And then we also have to download the macOS image file and Opencore configuration file. Now this link will be provided in the video description, so you can head directly to this page. Right here we can see from Olarilla, we can see macOS Sonoma, macOS Ventura and other older versions of macOS. Now we could either get version 13.6 or version 13.5.2, and I actually prefer the version 13.5.2, which I'm going to download here. So I'm going to click on the media file link and we should start downloading. The file size is about 13.9 GB, so I suggest you download with an internet download manager. Now I already have this file downloaded, so I'm not going to download again. I'm just going to pause that. And then we also have to download our Opencore EFI folders, and to do that we just have to click on EFI folders right on the same Olarilla site. I will also provide the link in the video description as well. Now we scroll down. Here is where we download EFI based on our CPU. Now remember we checked earlier for our CPU code name, which will be needed here. The section with Opencore Desktop is for desktop computers, and the section for Opencore Notebook is for laptops. So it depends on what you are using. In our case, we are using a Haswell processor, so we're going to download EFI for desktop Haswell, which the link is here. You can actually build the EFI yourself and then continue with the rest of the installation. If you want to do that, then check the description of this video and you would see a link to a video on how to build EFI. But in this video, we're going to continue with the pre-built EFI. So we're going to click on the download button And here we go, we now have Opencore EFI downloaded. And lastly, we also have to download ESP Mounter Pro, which we are going to use after the installation. Also check the description of this video to get this link, which heads to etechbox.com, which is our blog. And here we go, this is ESP Mounter Pro. You could also download from anywhere else, but the link will be provided in video description. And then we click on download and we have that downloaded. So we now have all the files we need ready. We can then close our browser and then open our download folder. Okay, so here we go. First, this is ESP Mounter Pro. This is Opencore EFI configuration file. This is Explorer++. This is balenaEtcher. This is property. This is Gen SMBIOS. This is MiniTool partition wizard, and this is our macOS installation file. Now the first thing we have to do is install balenaEtcher. And here we go, this is balenaEtcher. Next, we have to connect our flash drive at least 16 gigabytes. If you have anything more than that, it should be fine. So let's head to this PC, connect our flash drive, and you can see 14.6 gigabytes, which is technically 16 gigabytes. So let's head back to balenaEtcher and then click on flash from file, and then head to our download folder and select our macOS Ventura installer file here. Open, and then let's change the destination over here. Make sure you select your flash drive. In my case, you can see my flash drive over here selected, and then click on flash, and it's now running. Now this should take about 30 minutes or less, sometimes even more. You can see the estimated time right here. While this is running, we could set up other things. So let's head back to our download folder. Now let's extract our Opencore EFI configuration file. Right click and then let's extract. Okay, extracted. Now we can delete the zip file and then open the extracted file. You can find a file right here called EFI. Let's cut this file to our download folder, and then we can delete the extracted folder as well. Now let's open our main EFI folder, which we are going to need, and you can see the files right here. You can open boot, and you can see our boot file here. We can open OC, and then you can see our configuration plist file and drivers and lots of other things. Now let's head back to our download folder. We're also going to extract property and Gen SMBIOS as well. We can delete both zip as well. Okay, so now let's open property. Open, and then you can see a Windows batch file called property right here. Windows batch file. Now let's double click on this to run. Now if you get a prompt like this, Python 3 was not found on your system, you just type Y, hit enter to install Python 3. And here we go. Now let's head to our download folder, open our EFI folder, OC, and then you can see config.plist. Now let's click on file and then open, and then we have to select that configuration plist file, which is in our download folder, EFI, OC, config.plist, open. Now you can see this is the configuration of our Opencore Hackintosh, and if we scroll down to platform information over here, we can see the details of our machine as iMac Pro 1,1, but then our serial number is a generic serial number which every other person is using, so we shouldn't be using the same serial number someone else is using on their machine, since this is an EFI folder anyone can download. Now to confirm if someone else is using this serial or not, we can just copy the serial number and then head to our browser and then head to checkcoverage.apple.com. Now let's paste this serial number, and you can see this serial is already being used on another Mac, iMac Pro 2017, which you shouldn't be using the same serial with someone else. So to generate a unique serial, we're going to use Gen SMBIOS, and then we can head back here to confirm. So let's head back to our download folder, close this for now, head to our download folder, and then locate Gen SMBIOS, open, and then let's run our Windows batch file right here. Now the first thing we have to do is confirm Mac serial is updated, and if it is, you should see the version over here. And then next we have to enter 2 to select our configuration plist file. Hit enter. Now let's locate our configuration plist file by going to download EFI OC, and then drag our configuration plist file and drop it right there, and you can see the path is now here. Now let's hit enter. Now we're going to generate unique SMBIOS for our machine by entering 3. Hit enter. And then the unique SMBIOS we're going to be generating is going to be for iMac Pro 1,1, which should be able to run macOS Ventura. So let's enter iMac Pro 1,1. Hit enter. And you can see a unique serial has been generated for our machine with UUID and board serial as well. Now let's hit enter to return. And then we can use Q to quit. Now we can head back to property. And then let's open our configuration file again. And then we'll go back to platform information. Okay, so you can see the first data hub right here with the old details, and then you can see the second section generic with our new macOS serial number. Now let's copy this and then head back to our browser. Okay, so you can see we are getting an error. Please enter a valid serial number. That is because this serial isn't associated with any other machine, so we are good to go if you get that error. Now we can close this and then close all of that and continue with the installation. So we can delete property and gen SMBIOS since we are done with both of them. Now let's check up on balenaEtcher, and it is almost completed. And the process is completed. Now let's close this, head back to our download folder. Now we have to install MiniTool Partition Wizard, so let's run it. Set the language, continue. We are going with the free edition. Next. Installed. Now click on finish to launch. Alright, here we are. Now if you look down here, you can see disk 1, which is my drive, disk 2, and for disk 3, this is a removable drive, and you can see the icon by the side. And this is an EFI partition of our removable drive, which we are going to assign a letter to so we can access it later. So let's right click on the EFI partition of our USB flash drive right here. So I'm going to right click on it and then change letter. You're going to change the letter to whatever we want. I'm going to change it to X. Okay. And then click on apply down here twice. Yes. Okay. Now we can close this. Head to our download folder and then extract Explorer++. We can delete MiniTool Partition Wizard and the zip of Explorer++. Now let's open the Explorer++ extracted folder, and then you can see an app called Explorer++ right here. Right click and run as administrator. Okay, now we can see our EFI partition we labeled earlier with drive letter X. So let's open it, and then we have to delete everything here. So just select everything and then delete. Now let's locate our EFI folder in our download folder, which is right here. Copy and then head to our EFI X and then paste it there. Now this is the EFI partition on our flash drive, which contains Opencore configuration files, and that is what we are going to use for the installation. And we can close this. So basically we are almost done. We are done with Explorer++, we are done with balenaEtcher, we are done with our Ventura Image File, and we are also done with our EFI. One last thing before we start the installation, we have to confirm the destination we are going to install macOS Ventura. So let's search for disk partition. So hit the Windows button to search and then search for disk partition. Click on create and format hard disk partitions. And right here you can see all the drives on my computer. So you can see disk 0, which is my current drive I am running Windows 11 from. This is the EFI partition, this is the main drive, and this is a healthy recovery partition. Disk 1 is my SSD, which I am running both Manjaro and Windows 10 on. And then disk 2 is a removable drive right here. Now we have to confirm where we want to install macOS Ventura. If you have an empty drive, then you could just use it and skip this process. But in this case, all my drives are in use and I want to install macOS Ventura alongside my Windows 11. So I'm going to select my C drive right here, which has 232 gigabytes, and I should have over 100 gigabytes of free space. You can see over here, which is more than enough to run macOS Ventura. So I'm going to right click on that particular partition and then click on shrink volume. So this way we're going to shrink a certain amount of this drive for macOS Ventura installation. Now set the amount you want to shrink. Well, I'm going to give it about 100,000 megabytes, which should be close to 98 gigabytes. And then shrink. Now you can see a new partition unallocated right here. Now right click and then click on new simple volume. Next. Next. Assign a letter. Next. And then you can name it Mac. Next, and then finish. And this is where we're going to run the macOS installation. Now we can close disk management and then restart our PC and start the installation. Hold F9 or F12 to boot into your BIOS. Now let's head to BIOS setup. Okay, now first make sure you switch the boot sequence to UEFI instead of legacy. Next, go to system configuration, and here we're going to select SATA operations and then switch from RAID to AHCI. Now this may be different depending on the PC you're using, but regardless it should be similar. Yes. Lastly, go to secure boot and then make sure secure boot is disabled. And then we can apply the changes by clicking on apply down there and then exit. Now let's select our USB drive and then hit enter to boot from the USB. First, we have to reset NVRAM so it can change the boot order to Opencore. Now we select Opencore and then hit enter. Now we click on install macOS Ventura and then wait for this to load. Now this should take some time, but you just have to wait. Set a language for the installation and then continue. First, we have to go to disk utility, continue. Now you can see the list of all our partitions displayed on the left. Our Windows partition and our Mac partition we created earlier where we're going to install macOS. Now we can click on view and then show all device. And then you can see the first device there is my SSD with Manjaro and Windows 10. And then my HDD with Windows 11, and also where I'm about to install macOS Ventura. Now let's show all volume. Select Mac and then erase. We can rename it to whatever we want. And then set the format to APFS. And then click on erase. Now if you get an error like this, no problem, just click on done and then click on erase again. Set the format to APFS and then erase. And that is it. Click on done. Now let's close this and then click on install macOS Ventura. Continue. Continue again. Agree to the terms. Now select our Mac OS drive where we want to install Mac OS. This is the drive we erased earlier. Continue, and it should start the installation. Now this should take about an hour, but you just have to wait patiently. It may restart severally while it is installing. You just have to wait for the entire installation. And the installation is completed after about 45 minutes. Now select your country or region and then continue. you can just proceed with the remaining setup based on your personal preference. And here we go, macOS Ventura has been successfully installed. Now there is one more thing left to do. We downloaded ESP Mounter Pro earlier, which we are going to make use of now. So you can copy it from another flash drive right here, or you can just download again using the browser on your Hackintosh. If you go about this Mac, you can see that this is iMac Pro, which is running Ventura, and our serial number from Gen SMBIOS we did earlier. What we are trying to do now is move the EFI folder from our flash drive to our main drive, so we can boot directly from our main drive without using the flash drive after this installation. I have ESP Mounter Pro in another flash drive, which I am going to copy here. You can download it from your browser. The link is in the video description. So I'm just going to copy it to my desktop. And I'm going to extract it by double clicking on it. Now we can double click to install. Now if you get this prompt, just click on OK and then go to System Settings. Go to Privacy and Security and then scroll down, and you should see a prompt asking to allow unknown app run. You can see ESP Mounter Pro right there. Click on Open anyway, and then enter your password to confirm you're the one performing this operation. Modify settings, open. Now enter your password again to confirm. Install. Okay, so ESP Mounter Pro is now running, and if you look at the top right corner of your screen, you should see ESP Mounter Pro. So now let's click on it and then click on Show All Disk. Now let's look for the EFI partition of our drive. So you can see the first drive there, OCZ, is our SSD, and if we scroll down, we should see our second drive, which is our HDD with label WDC, and you can see the EFI partition right there. Now we're going to mount this EFI partition by clicking on Mount, and then let's click on Open the volume. And you can see an EFI folder here which contains my Windows boot file, since I have Windows 11 running in this drive. Now let's head back there and then locate the EFI partition of our flash drive, so we can copy our EFI files from there to the EFI of our main drive. So we can scroll down and you should see the EFI partition of your flash drive, which we are going to mount, and then open volume. Now let's check what's inside, and you can see boot and OC. If you open OC, you can see Opencore configuration files. So what we are supposed to do is just delete the EFI folder in our main drive and then drag the EFI from our removable disk right there. But since I want to keep both Windows and Mac OS, I am going to create a new folder inside our EFI folder, and let's call this Mac OS, and then let's open it. Now we are going to copy the contents inside our EFI folder in our flash drive to that new folder we created in our main drive, and that is all basically. Now we can restart and then add the EFI to our boot menu, and we are done. So let's close this, and then restart our PC. Now boot into BIOS setup again. Now we are going to boot sequence, and then we're going to add a new boot option by clicking on add boot option. I'm going to click on the file name, open EFI, Mac OS, OC, and then select opencore.efi. OK, and then we're going to call this boot option Ventura. Now we can click on OK, and then change the boot sequence so Ventura goes up, and then we can apply the changes, exit, and we are done. We can restart into macOS Ventura and do whatever we want. Sign in with your password. If this video was helpful, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notification. If you encountered any issue while installing, don't forget to use the comment section to share the issue with us, and we would be glad to help you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.